Hello and welcome to this week's The Weekly Reel presented by The Untitled Movie Pod, and I'm your host, Dusty Jones. This show is a weekly show coming to you usually on Thursdays where I break down a movie I recently saw. I try to pick out movies that most people haven't seen, typically non-mainstream movies, more with an artistic bent to them. If you've been listening to the show, watching the show for a while, you'll kind of already have figured that out, but for you new guys, that's kind of what I'm doing here. And yeah, I just like to spotlight a small movie or a movie that I think that didn't get enough buzz, which is kind of what this week's all about. And I try my best to pick movies that are easily accessible, movies that you don't have to track down, like A Cannibal Holocaust or something like that. Something that you can easily find through Netflix or Hulu or Amazon Prime, or, sometimes I pick a movie that, do a VOD. I mean, why not kick the filmmakers a couple bucks? And usually those movies are the ones, I stress whether or not, it's worth the rental. But the other films, even if it's not the best movie, if you already have a Netflix account or something like that, then I'd basically tell you what, it's worth checking out, if you're into film and if you're into, whatever. So, let's just jump right into this week. This week I am talking about Nightcrawler. This movie came out late last year. It kind of got railroaded by all the other big movies that were coming out during the whole, rush for the Oscars. And it really didn't get a whole lot of marketing either, at least not that I could tell. Because even when this movie came out, I didn't see it in theaters. Because I really didn't hear much about it. At the time, I wasn't really following Jake Gyllenhaal as much as I had in the past, because he had kind of fallen off a cliff there for a while, doing stuff that I, just wasn't really that into personally. But if you've been paying attention to the Untitled Movie Pod, you'll know that I am all in on this guy, and I'm just eating up everything he's got. So yeah, this week I'm talking about Nightcrawler, and this movie is probably almost the most mainstream movie I've talked about on this show so far, but for the facts that I just said, I know most of you guys had not seen it. And the great thing is, last week it popped up on Netflix, and it's now on Netflix, so there's no reason not to check it out at this point. But I'll give you, the full review in a moment. Let's go ahead and check out that trailer. Why not?
I'm looking for a job. In fact, I've made up my mind to find a career that I can learn and grow into. Who am I? I'm a hard worker. I set high goals, and I've been told that I'm persistent.
And I'm thinking, the television news might just be something I love, as well as something I happen to be good at.
Now, I know that today's work culture no longer caters to the job loyalty that could be promised to earlier generations. What I believe is that good things come to those who work their asses off. And that good people who reached the top of the mountain didn't just fall there. My motto is, if you want to win the lottery, you have to make the money to buy a ticket. You have to make the money to buy a ticket. You have to make the money to buy a ticket. You have to make the money to buy a ticket. You have to make the money to buy a ticket!
So that was the Nightcrawler trailer. Let's check out the IMDb details real fast. As you can see, it's holding a 7.9 right now on IMDb. The synopsis on IMDb is: when Louis Bloom, a driven man desperate for work, muscles into the world of LA crime journalism, he blurs the line between observer and participant to become the star of his own story. Aiding him in his efforts is Nina, a TV news veteran. Directed by Dan Gilroy, written by Dan Gilroy, and As you can tell, the main star is Jake Gyllenhaal. Your co-head would be Rene Russo. You have Bill Paxton in there for a moment, and his sidekick in the movie is where is he? I don't even see him listed. What the heck? Sorry, I can't highlight that for you at this moment. That's odd. That's very odd. Dan Gilroy, you may know from... well, this is for his directorial debut, so there you go. You may not know him from anywhere. Jake Gyllenhaal, obviously, from Donnie Darko was the big one that kind of brought me in very early to his career. I really loved that movie, but as time went on, I wasn't... well, that's a whole other discussion. There's no reason to really get in that. But, you know, Jarhead was another huge one for Jake Gyllenhaal. Yeah, the stuff you know him from. Zodiac. Jarhead's not even listed on his known for, really. Zodiac was a pretty good movie. It's a Fincher film. Source Code was a movie I never really checked out. That was, like I said, during the period where I kind of shot away from his work. But ever since End of Watch, I've been really digging him. End of Watch was really good. Prisoners, that's a Denis Villeneuve film. If I haven't beat you over the head enough at this point about Enemy, another Denis Villeneuve film. Like I said, if I haven't hit you over the head enough about it, great stuff. And then he did Nightcrawler, great. This year he has Accidental Love, Southpaw, which is coming out just a few short weeks, I do believe. Actually, the reviews already just popped up, and they said Jake's awesome in it. The movie's not necessarily that great. Everest, I'm really interested in. I've always been a fan of like mountain climbing stuff for whatever reason. I'm not the most athletically inclined person, but I've always been in awe of Everest. But from the trailers, he looks to be kind of a sidekick character for the most part. So yeah, that's I guess all the deets you really need to know about Nightcrawler. Why don't we just go ahead and talk about, you know, did I like it? Nightcrawler, the reason I bring it up on the show is I thought it was a great film. I hate that it didn't get more people to show up to it. And like I said, I think that was partly because it really didn't get a whole lot of attention and it didn't get a lot of press. And it, you know, it got sandwiched, you know, with all the other big films that were coming out late last year, trying to, you know, meet the Oscar deadline. And, you know, great movies like this get overlooked all the time, unfortunately, during the fall rush. And like I said, I mean, Jake, you know, he really wasn't on my radar that much, and I didn't really hear about it. I saw it on the, right, like when I was going to the film, you know, to the theater, I saw Nightcrawler on the list. I'm like, what the heck is that about? And I read the description. I'm like, okay, why would I care about this, right? So I just didn't do it. And then I finally did it early this year. I got a chance to see it, and I see why people are, you know, complaining. Why did this guy not get a, you know, more buzz for the Oscars? Why didn't he get a nod or even win? And a lot of people call this Modern Taxi Driver, and there is definitely a lot of that in this film. But I feel like the morality and the ethical issues in Taxi Driver versus this are way different. But your characters are very much alike. Robert De Niro's character and then Jake Gyllenhaal's character in this. They're very stern. They're very matter of fact. You know, they have their own idea of what life's about, what makes them tick, and like I said, I feel like the ending of Taxi Driver is very much different from the ending of this one. I feel like there's a different ethical thing going on there. There's more to be kind of mined, I think, from Taxi Driver, which, I mean, it's a Scorsese film. Like, what can you do? Scorsese and De Niro back in the day, I mean, you couldn't really touch it for the most part. But this film, so that's why I think this film stands on its own. Yeah, you can make those comparisons, but they are definitely different films. It's shot really well. It's definitely digital, but it's got that grainy kind of cool nighttime look, which I love, especially with LA made films. Like I've talked about it a bunch of times. Well, I don't know if I've talked about that much to you guys on the Untitled Movie Pod, but Collateral is one of my favorite films from Michael Mann, especially the cinematography. That was actually his first digital film, but it was shot in a way, and it was all metered properly, and it felt super gritty, even though it was shot on digital. And that movie blows me away every time I see it. I just love it. And this movie has the same kind of feel, the same look and tonality to it. So the character of himself, Louis Bloom, like I said, just basically think Taxi Driver, Robert De Niro. Think that, but instead of being a taxi driver, he is basically the guy that runs out in the middle of the night to videotape stuff happening, like car wrecks and, all that footage you get on the news in the morning, or even, breaking news at night, when there's a murder or stabbing or, criminal, hard crime kind of stuff. He runs out and captures it on video and sells it, and he makes a living doing it. And you can even tell in the trailer, they kind of give it away a bit to where you understand that he kind of blurs the line between being an objective observer and being a participant in a way, because he wants that shot. He wants that perfect shot, because the better the shot and the more blood and guts you get, the more money you're going to make. I mean, sadly, that's what news is all about, how you make the money in that, because like they say in the movie, I'm sure you've heard it 1,000 times, if it bleeds, it leads. That's so true. And it's unfortunate, but that's kind of how our society is at this time, and this time place. What else? The music. There's not a whole lot of music in it. It's very subtle. It's not like an overarching score or anything like that. I already told you about the cinematography is great. Jake Gyllenhaal delivers a great performance. It's awesome. The writing is really good. This character is so smart and interesting, and like I said, he just knows what he wants. He is, like, his background, according to his character, is he went to business school, and he gives you the brass tacks on everything. Constantly giving you the brass tacks on everything. And it's so funny how you can just break down even like the most mundane things in life. He can break it down in this series of factoids about it that makes it interesting, or brings kind of a different viewpoint to it. And like I said, this movie's on Netflix. Just I really dig this movie, and I hate that it got overlooked so much last year. Enough can't really be said. I can't really say too much about it, just like that last film reviewed. I think that was last week or the week before. It's one of those things where there's not necessarily a plot twist. I don't want to say it like that, but this character goes far and above. I mean, he does some stuff that you're like, whoa, like, wow, you're going the extra mile, quite frankly, and in a very dark and sinister way. So yeah, I can't recommend it enough. I really like this movie. I think I even mentioned on the Untitled Movie Pod, or no, I forgot. I meant to mention on this last week's episode of the Untitled Movie Pod, but I forgot. And like almost right after the show, I texted the guys and I was like, guys, Nightcrawler is on Netflix. Watch it. There's no reason not to. Yeah, so it's really good. It's R-rated. There is some cussing in it, but not a lot. The main character, I can't remember if he does or doesn't. It's basically the people around him, and he actually kind of feels uncomfortable when that stuff happens, because his character is so in his own kind of state of mind that the real world and the way he interacts with it, it's very strange. And Renee Russo, I haven't really seen her in a while, but she's really good in this movie. I liked her as the kind of veteran news producer, trying to figure out how to stay in the biz once you've gotten older, sort of thing. And Bill Paxton's in this for a few minutes, and he's pretty cool. It's Bill Paxton. Don't know much else to say there. So yeah, check it out. Netflix. Simple as that. Why not? You know, you want to watch a decent movie this weekend, and you know, a movie that you can get a lot from, and it's really kind of like a dark, moody, atmospheric film, which I always love, obviously. If you've checked any of my reviews, and so yeah, that should do it for me this week here at the Weekly Reel. Before I get out here, let's check some stuff out. If you like the show or any of our stuff, go over to www.theuntitledmoviepod.com. There you can check out when the newest stuff comes out. You can RSS to the shows or download them straight from there, or even stream them. You can check us out at or if you have any comments or feedback or even movie suggestions, I'm always, you know, open to that. Send that to us at theuntitledmoviepod@gmail.com. If you want to help us out, go over to facebook.com/theuntitledmoviepod. There you can like the page and then share it to your friends, but not even just sharing the page, but share the content. You know, when we update it, it's usually Sunday, Tuesday, and Thursday. Check that stuff out and then share it out to your friends so we can get more people involved and you know, watching it and enjoying it, and you know, create a little community here. And last but not least, if you want to help us out in a monetary kind of way, you can go over to patreon.com/theuntitledmoviepod, and for just a small $5 donation, you can get a shout out on this or the other shows. You can just kind of pick which one, and simple as that. So like I said, that's going to do it for me. I'm Dusty Jones, and this has been The Weekly Reel presented by the Untitled Movie Pod, and I'll see you guys next week. See ya.